What if I told you that out of all the mistakes that are holding people back from building wealth, you are making at least one of them? Now, I've worked in financial services for 6 years and I currently own a 6-figure wedding photography agency. So throughout being employed and running my own business, I've identified 6 habits that put a restraint on your finances on a daily basis. Number 1, working a 9 to 5. Now look, there's nothing wrong with working a job. It gives you security, it pays the bills, pays rent, and it's comforting to know that money lands on your account every single month. But understand that unless you're a doctor, a CEO, or an executive, it's almost impossible to build a substantial amount of wealth while you're busy making someone else rich. Because folks, quite simply, that's what most of us are doing. Clocking in 40 hours of work per week, leveraging our health and our time to help a company grow double digits year on year, while they're out there giving you 3 to 5% salary increase every 2 years, which barely combats inflation. Whether you have a degree or not, live in the US or Europe, it doesn't really matter. With the average salary from any country, you'd have to save diligently for 10 to 15 years to be able to buy a house, and that's without even taking yearly inflation on the housing market into consideration. So it's really not a surprise that, according to a study done by Deloitte, 46% of millennials felt that their long-term financial futures contribute to a lot of anxiety in the workplace. This other survey done by Amazon in 2022 says that younger workers don't feel that corporations are delivering, with 74% stating they're likely to quit their job in the next year due to a lack of financial incentive. And guys, I've been there. I've had a respectable job as a project manager in financial services. I've made both monetary and career progress year on year, but it got me no closer to building wealth. Frankly, it's been nothing in comparison to the 3 years I've been running a photography agency. Although my wife and I left the 9 to 5 in 2019, just ahead of a global pandemic, and we struggled for at least a year to kickstart our business, looking at the bigger picture has been more than worth it. Understand that when you're working for yourself, the opportunities for exponential growth are so much bigger, which is why 88% of millionaires in the US are business owners. Now yes, running a business in the current economic climate is scary, but that's what brings us to number 2, relying on just one source of income. Now yes, running a business can be great, but there is no business or job in the world with a guaranteed income for years ahead. Jobs can be lost and businesses can fail. I mean, just in the past year, Google and Amazon laid off thousands of employees in the wake of the economic downturn, while hundreds of shops, restaurants, and hotels closed down due to the pandemic. So look, I'm not saying you should open up a business, run a YouTube channel, and a social media agency all at once, but there are hundreds of online side hustles you can do from the comfort of your home that involve no risk and minimal capital investment. All you have to do is research and execute one of them. For example, instead of watching a movie every night, you could start an Etsy shop by selling digital wall art for 6 months. This would cost you as little as 20 cents and 2 hours per day of messing around in Canva. If it doesn't work out, the worst thing you've done is missed your favorite TV show, but if you do succeed, you can make up to $30,000 per month like this shop right here. Now, I used to think running just a wedding photography agency would be enough. I mean, we've been doing well for the past 2 years, but then recent events and inflation changed things a bit. Weddings have slowed down, budgets have decreased, and luxury services like wedding photography have taken a backseat for a while. So this year, I had my wake-up call to start taking action and diversify my income. Number 3, paying yourself last. So in Robert Kiyosaki's book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he explains that there are 2 types of people when it comes to saving. The first type is people who pay themselves last. Now, what does this mean? So as soon as that monthly salary rolls in, you pay your rent, your phone bills, your Spotify subscription, and you put whatever is left, if any, into your savings. This leads to inconsistent or even non-existent saving, leaving you to working hard for years and years, but never actually setting anything aside for the future or for your retirement. The second type is people who pay themselves first, and that's exactly the type you want to be. So once you get your salary, the very first thing you do on the same day is you take at least 10% and put it into savings. Folks, you have to treat it like paying a bill, because otherwise that 10% you aim to save will get lost if you leave it last on the list. Once and only once that is saved, you start paying for everything else. Remember the 9 to 5 example. You have to focus on yourself to have any chance of exponential growth. Now you might say, well Mark, if I take out 10% in advance, I won't be able to pay a bill or a subscription. Well, in that case, you need to cut some expenses from your life, preferably ones that bring you little to no value. And this is different for everybody, okay? okay, but I mean, me personally, while I was working in an office, I've cut out the Spotify subscription and listened to music on YouTube instead. Or instead of buying an expensive mocha choca or whatever latte in Starbucks every week, I chose a cheaper single espresso that did its job just like the latte for half the price. The point is, you need to prioritize saving 10% monthly and recalibrate your spending for a month if required. Number 4, saving instead of investing. So let's say you do stick to saving 10% on a monthly basis. You're depositing those savings in a bank account, which means you're losing money every year due to inflation. So instead of depositing all your savings, you could invest, say, 8% of your savings into the stock market and keep 2% in a bank account. And choosing what to invest in can be a daunting task, so your best bet is to invest in ETFs. Now, an ETF is an exchange-traded fund, which is essentially just a basket of stocks that trade on the stock market. Now, one single ETF can hold thousands of stocks and can be a great way to have a diverse portfolio without the hassle of actually researching multiple companies and their financials, trying to decide which one to go for. There's a link in the description to a database which categorizes and simplifies ETFs for you. For example, there are dividend-paying ETFs, ETFs with aggressive or steady growth. Using this database saves you time and simplifies the process of investing. Number 5, buying a new phone every year. Now, in this consumer-centric society, we're constantly slapped in the face with marketing gimmicks that tell us to keep buying more and keep buying new because having new apparently helps you stay relevant. And this happens mainly with smartphones. I mean, think about this for a sec. Do you buy a new TV every year? Some TVs are cheaper than the newest iPhones, yet you don't change them on a yearly basis just because they add a few incremental changes. Do you buy a fridge every year or the yearly Sony headsets? My point is, buying an iPhone 13 for $999 in 2021 and a year later buying an iPhone 14 for $799 is just bad investment. You could take the $799, invest it into a high-yielding dividend ETF, and turn it into a minor source of passive income. The bottom line is, you can spend money on something so much more meaningful than an annual upgrade that doesn't bring you any value. Number 6, relying on debt. So there's no doubt that a credit card can be useful in terms of the discounts and rewards it provides you, be that cinema tickets, dining offers, or travel insurance. But there is one rule you have to stick to when buying something with it. Unless you have the money then and there to pay off the debt, you shouldn't buy it. You gotta understand, the credit card companies profit from you being bad with your finances. I mean, the average credit card interest rate in the US is 20.4%, which effectively cancels any rewards or benefits that these credit card companies are providing if you're not able to pay them off on time. Now, obviously, there are exceptions like an emergency healthcare situation, but all the small things like buying a phone or a laptop should only be paid with a credit card if you have the money for it on the spot. So folks, there you have it. If you have any of these habits, I hope this video helped you out a bit in how to break free from them. Hey, all you guys watching are super amazing. Thanks so much for sticking around, and be sure to subscribe because I have more finance and money making content coming up. In the meantime, have an amazing rest of the day or night, and I'll catch you on the next one.